Natalie in Illinois, you are on the line with Professor Dave and to a lesser extent, Jimmy Snow.
Hey, how's it going?
Howdy.
Hello.
Just fine. How are you, Natalie?
Pretty good. I'm happy to have a chat. It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
thanks
have
for
you know
calling.
at the beginning of the call, just in case certain things I say make it seem like it's not true. I do generally like pagans. However, you might not
Ah,
necessarily feel that during the call.
well, I have to say, I'm not sure if pagan is even the right descriptor for me. I don't know if
Hmm.
you're familiar with panpsychism or Spinoza's God. I feel like that's more perhaps in line with my ideas.
Sure. What was the first term? Spinoza's God I'm familiar with. What was the first one?
Panpsychism.
Panpsychism,
Panpsychism. Yeah. Okay.
and it's this idea that all things on Earth or in the universe more or less have some form of mind. I mean, it doesn't have to equate to like our idea of like a brain or consciousness or mind, but they have some form of it, and to some degree.
Okay. So
Do I
you
jump
believe
in or?
rocks have consciousness? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where to go from. Yeah. You believe rocks that every atom is either. Do you believe everything's bonded by a single mind, or that every atom has its own mind?
I think that everything's bonded by a single mind. I mean, following with like Spinoza's God, which was like a 17th century philosopher, I do believe the idea of like what we attribute to like God is nature, and that includes everything, and that's like one substance. I mean, and that can be proven by science. We're all made out of the same atoms and the same molecules to begin with.
Hmm.
I mean, science can call it atoms and molecules, but what's the difference between calling it a God, or making that like a spiritual
Definitions,
rest?
whether
Yeah,
one
I mean, then you
equivocates or
can
not,
just
but
call anything,
yeah.
I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
If
mean,
everything's God, what isn't?
right. Then the word doesn't mean anything anymore. So what is this substance? Right. You're the problem here is that you're trying to make it
Mm.
physical. So what is the substance? What is the nature of the substance? What's the composition of the substance? Where is the evidence of the substance existing?
I mean, the evidence of the substance is kind of goes along with like what Descartes says, like his famous line is like, "I think and therefore I am." The substance is here. I mean, you are something, right? So
Yeah,
who's to say that that can't be
I
existed?
am I'm cells, which are made of molecules, which are made of atoms.
Right,
But
and so am I,
I'm looking for what
and
you're
so
talking
is
about.
the rock.
Yes, but okay. So here's the problem that I have with panpsychism in general. There's
Mm.
nothing to indicate that consciousness or mind or whatever you're describing is not strictly a chemical phenomenon. So we have consciousness because of brain anatomy and physiology and the cellular complexity, the way neurons work, etc. And rocks don't have that. So we can think because we have that structural complexity that resides within the brain, and rocks do not.
Mm.
Rocks are just repeating units of a crystalline subunit that's repeating in every direction for a lot, and that's not something that can produce thought or mind or anything like that. So to say that a rock has mind, why? Why would you think that? Give me something
I
concrete.
mean, I also feel like the English language doesn't have necessarily words to describe what I'm trying to say, because I feel like when you say mind, it's so tied up with like human consciousness, which of course a rock cannot have. And then if I were to
Hmm.
say energy, that would really bring out sort of like this new age like thinking that you would obviously like hate and like dismantle,
So,
But
Natalie,
Yes, it would.
I do.
what kind of
Oh,
content? By the
go
way,
ahead.
I want to acknowledge that everyone, rewind the tape. After discussing rocks, Dave said, "Give me something concrete," and I appreciated it and thought it was hilarious,
I
but I didn't
noticed
know
it
if
after
anyone
I
else
said
got
it.
it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Natalie,
Yeah.
what kind of
Yeah.
consciousness can a rock have?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't think a rock can have consciousness in the sense, in the way that we have consciousness, humans, or in the way that a cat would have consciousness.
Okay.
But I still think that there's some sort of like like
Let's pause there.
spiritual.
Let's pause there, Natalie. Do we have
Yes,
evidence of human consciousness outside of the fact that
yes.
we're experiencing human consciousness individually? Are we able to confirm and show that there's evidence of other beings other than ourselves? In other words, can I get evidence that
Yeah.
Dave has consciousness and other humans besides me have consciousness?
Oh, this is kind of like the simulation sort of thing. Like I could be the only real person sort of argument.
No, quite the opposite. This is not a trick question. The answer is yes. Yes, we have plenty of evidence that, right. We can map the brain, we can watch the brain.
In complex ways.
Yep.
So what this is going towards is, can you tell me some kind of characteristic of a rock or some kind of behavior of a rock, if that would be a thing that would exist, that results when presented with stimuli? Is there something that about a rock that is not adequately explained by normal geological principles that to you would indicate that it has mind or something like that?
But I feel like you're very much coming from this like scientific empirical perspective. But is that the only perspective that, I mean, it's the only perspective that is currently legitimized, right? But I mean, I wonder if there's like another way of like relating to a rock. I mean, it's not. I feel like it's so. It's not like I'm
Natalie,
saying the
has
rock
other ways ever? Are you talking to us on a smartphone right now?
Yes,
I mean,
I am. Yes.
You're saying I'm coming
has
at it
any
from a
other way
scientific
besides
perspective?
science?
Like these are scientific phenomena,
anything,
right? Science is the study of the physical world, right? So what other perspective, right? I'm looking for something for you to, I almost said concrete again, right? Give me something about a rock, right? It can be from any angle you want. It doesn't matter. We just need a place to start. I need you to tell me something about a rock that you think defies the simplicity of the way we describe rocks from a geological perspective.
Sure. I mean, I think I want to go back to this like idea of like attunement and awareness to your surroundings. Like, let's say that I'm, sitting by some rocks and I feel a certain way, because of like the landscape and there's a bunch of rocks. I mean, is that only because of my internal mind and my internal state, or is that also dictated by the rocks that are around me?
I'm not completely sure I understand.
I think I get it. It's
you
just
have
you.
sensory
The
perception.
experience is yours alone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to say that these rocks, they can have some sort of energy, and I know that the energy really has like this new age kind of connotation to it, but I don't know how else to describe it in English. In the English language, I don't really think that's really.
I worry then we're engaging with, you've got a sense of an internal sense of this is right, and I have these ideas about this, but I can't actually give it a comprehensive definition of consciousness. I wonder if you'd be able to give a comprehensive definition of mind as you are engaging in panpsychism. And I'm feeling like we're just hitting more and more things that you can't define, because whenever I hear the word energy, and then I go, oh, got it. So what form of energy are we talking about? And then they go, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that when I feel an emotional response to that thing I'm feeling that isn't literally just energy, it's actually chemical firings and neurons, and that we can tell you what's happening in your brain and in your body, what physiologically is happening. And to just say, we don't wave a wand and just say, and that's just energy. But people associate that and they want to give that a singular word and feel very special by giving it a sort of magical sense, when again, we have no reason to believe it's anything other than physiological.
I mean,
yeah, I want to encourage you to keep staying away from the word energy, because it's not going to go well. Yeah.
I mean, I do agree that I'm kind of coming up to a block by inability to like define what consciousness or a mind is in panpsychism, but I also believe that to define is to limit. So just because we don't have like the definitions doesn't mean that something doesn't exist.
Convenient.
But that's not the problem, right? I don't need for you to define consciousness or define mind. I'm talking about the rock, right? You think that there's some characteristic that you want to ascribe to the rock, and I'm asking why. It sounds to me like you just like the idea that the rock is conscious, or whatever word you want to use here. I'm asking you for something about the rock. Tell me something about the rock that makes you conclude this, right? That the rock is more than what geology describes. Not just I want that to be true, I'm asking, give me something about a rock, or talk to me about
Well,
rocks.
why are you
Tell me
so
something about rocks.
fascinated with geology and like science and these empirical forms of
Because
study? I mean, in the 1600s, alchemy was like a form of science, and people believed that that was true.
Natalie,
But
no,
you can
it was
think
Natalie, it
out.
wasn't a
pseudoscience.
form of Natalie. Natalie, it was not a science.
I'm,
But if you can present to us something, the reason I brought up the smartphone earlier, if you were asking, I was talking on the smartphone, is because the smartphone is a pretty good indication that science can pick some shit up and figure some stuff out. Because I can take this
of course,
device
it can.
and
Yeah.
do a lot with it, and it's the product of science. Can you give me something that is not science? Some other way to test the reality of our surroundings, the truth of what is around us, that at the very least you can point to the fruits of being the very direct fruits of, and go, look, it's been reliable when we have engaged in. If you were a person who believed in prayer and you could show me that prayer works independent of what what science might say or whatever, but you can actually show that the fruits of prayer are evidence enough that it's worth noting. If you want to give us the alternative, as long as the alternative is reliable and can produce flight and medicine or some equivalent, then I'm down. But right now, you're
But
not telling us the way you're getting to truth and that it's a good way. You're asking,
you're just
why
pointing
are we
to
sticking to our things that have done it?
you're pointing to things that we were wrong about, right? We were wrong about a thing, therefore I can make up anything I want, right? Alchemy was a proto science that helped us develop chemistry. But you're saying, why are you coming at this from a scientific perspective? Science is the study of the natural world. A rock is a natural object. Science is how we study
Right. By
things.
the
It's
way,
how we gather knowledge, right? So, if you and consciousness also is as far as we can tell, something that we can describe scientifically. It's part of the physical world. So I'm
That's
not
fine.
trying, these
Okay,
are not
so
trick questions, right? I'm just saying, let's talk about rocks. Tell me a thing about a
mm,
rock that you find interesting and indicative of
mm.
these other characteristics.
um, so we would, if we go back to the science thing, I mean, like, the first, second thermodynamic law is that no energy can be created nor destroyed, right? And we believe that, then everything must have the same energy. Maybe it's not a form of like, maybe it's not an ability to think in the human way, but it is some form of like shared energy, and that's tied with like the science today.
Okay, all
Alien
that
science.
means
you're
is that
conflating.
you
Yeah.
yeah, you have conservation of energy. So any kind of chemical or physical process, that just means that energy can be transferred into another kind of energy. So you can have gravitational potential energy, and then when something falls, that is transferred into kinetic energy, and then when it strikes something, there's mechanical energy if it warps the shape of the thing that it struck or something. Energy is being with maintaining the same quantity is being transferred into other types of energy. That in no way describes any kind of shared energy, or we are all of one energy, or any kind of other esoteric mystical connotation that you want to paint on it. That's not what that law says.
Also, to something I should have said a moment ago too, Natalie, in a single
Mm,
word, I'll ask you as a question. Those things that you
yeah.
were saying we were wrong about in the past, what did we use to find out we were wrong about them? One word, starts
Um,
with S. You've said it a bunch.
more observations, more experiments.
Science. So your contention was people who believed in science believed certain things before, like Isaac Newton and his dumb alchemy beliefs.
Sure. Yeah.
And we found
Mm.
out that they were wrong, not because the energies just told us, man. We found out they were wrong because we did more science. And so even the presentation of, hey, we were wrong about all these things, so why are you still doing science? Because the examples you just gave, we used science to find out we were wrong about in the first place.
Yeah. And hey, look, you're not wrong. Like you're correct that our knowledge is not was not total in the past, and it's not total now. And you are absolutely free to say that there's something incomplete about our understanding of consciousness, because you'd be right. We don't have a complete understanding of consciousness. It's much more. Our understanding of consciousness is nowhere near the level of our understanding of like molecular systems or something like that. But if you are going to say something about, hey, there's this aspect of consciousness we're not understanding, I think that there's this other thing, right? I need you to tell me some reason, some reasoning that you're using to arrive at that, because in absence of that, it just sounds like I like that and I want it to be true, right?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I definitely hear. I mean, it's not that I'd like it to be true. I feel that it's true. Like I know that it's true.
Okay. No, Natalie. You were right the first time. You feel that it's true. Knowledge and feel is different. Natalie, let me ask you this. Is Christianity true?
I mean, it is a real institutional religion. Yes, it's real.
But is it true? You know what I'm asking. Don't be pedantic. You know what I'm asking.
Like, is it true in the sense of like the Christian God is real? Is that
Does the Christian God exist? Does the Christian God exist? Did Jesus Christ come die for our sins? Right.
He didn't die for our sins. He was a historical figure.
Great. So the answer
What
is
he's saying is that
simply,
a lot of people
Natalie,
really deeply believe all that stuff.
To kind of further this a little bit, I do believe.
No, Natalie, don't further it. Just engage with the question asked. This is where I go crazy with callers. You can do your thing in a moment, but don't try and go, actually, I know you were going somewhere, Jimmy, and sure, it's your show, but what if I do a different show first? You can talk about yours in a moment. Is Christianity true? Yes or no? Does the Christian God exist? Did the Christian sacrifice happen of Jesus Christ for our sins? Is the story of the Bible true?
No.
The literal history of this earth?
No.
Great.
No.
So
A lot
your
of people
evidence
feel that it is, though,
for
right?
the energy thing is, I feel it is true. And that's a lot of Christians' evidence for it. And they say, I feel it so deeply, I know it's true. So how do we convince one of the two of you? Hang on, Natalie. How do I convince what mechanism do I use to convince the Christian that they are incorrect, which you agree they are, that wouldn't also eliminate your worldview?
So repeat the question actually for me, if you may.
You both believe on the same basis. I feel and therefore know this energy thing is true. Christians, I feel and therefore know Christianity is true. What mechanism should we use, you and I, to convince the Christian that they are wrong because we agree that they're wrong on that wouldn't also eliminate your worldview? A mechanism that would definitely prove them false, that you couldn't modify the mechanism to prove yours false too.
I mean, for me, I think it's the idea of their idea of God being this all-knowing, controlling, and also moralistic figure. Like, why would that be?
So that's not a mechanism, because you're basically now just saying you also feel theirs is untrue because it doesn't make sense to you, and therefore your mechanism that you think should be adequate to disprove their belief is, I feel it's untrue. Well, Natalie, I feel yours is untrue. Does that make it correct, or do I need to do more than just feel that it's untrue?
I think you do make a good point. I think that feeling is not enough to corroborate my ideas on this. I mean, I think that is a good point. If I were to compare it to...
Do you want to maybe call back once you've tried to put up, maybe you can sit down with a notepad and go, okay, I'm not going to go with feelings based, and I'm not going to say I feel and know it's true, and write out the best reasons you have and your mechanism that isn't science, because you said that it isn't, that science wouldn't do it, the mechanism you would use to get there and why that mechanism is reliable the way we can prove science is reliable. Do you want to work on all of that and call back and see if you can present it?
Yeah.
I have another suggestion too, though. And so you clearly have, this spiritual leaning, and you have a spiritual journey that you're on, which is totally fine. I would suggest to supplement that, not to replace it, to supplement that, learning the basics about chemistry and geology. I have very excellent tutorials on my YouTube channel. I'm very proud of my geology tutorials. They're very clear and succinct. They're short, easy to watch. If you learn about rocks, what rocks are made of, how they form, etc., and allow that to supplement your spiritual musings about whether rocks are conscious or not, I would like to see how those work in tandem and if that changes your thoughts.
Thank you for the suggestion. Okay.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Professor Dave Explains. That's what you're going to look up on YouTube.
Geology playlist. Chemistry if you need some prerequisites, and physics and a bunch of other stuff. Whatever.
All right, Natalie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Eric, do you want to learn how to Mongolian throat sing? Check this out.
No,
You try.
No, keep that shit to yourself. Don't want to hear it.
Anyway, thanks for watching that clip. Patreon.com/calltheline is where you could support us. And maybe you should subscribe and like the video because it was a killer video. Or maybe it wasn't. Was it a forest video? If this was a forest video, you don't have to click like. If it was an Eric video, go ahead and click dislike.